everyone, and welcome back to Casting Seeds. I'm Savannah, your holistic health practitioner and host.
Jeremiah, your co-host.
And you're listening to the only holistic health podcast that gives you God's singular truth to give you individualized discernment.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm back.
I know, it's been a while, it feels like. We are going to be doing our back-to-back Nourishing news episode this week. So if you want to hear a bunch of different news breaks that happened, and by the way, today we are recording this on Voting Tuesday. So there's a lot of news happening in general with stress, with the election, and so many other things. But we thought we'd give some encouraging and interesting takes on holistic healthcare for you guys to be able to listen to. So let's do it.
So Savannah, tell us a little about fragrances.
Yeah, so the FDA is under hot water right now. If anything, I would say boiling, not even just hot water, because of the election and so many, just basically a lot of food companies are under hot water, which means that it's putting every type of makeup brand and every brand possible under hot water. So that's why we talked about frequencies when it came to latex and all of that stuff. And it's now blending in from food into the products that we wear and what we do. So I have known about this for a really long time, but it looks like that the FDA is finally coming out with very specific language for what fragrance is. It still is not super specific, but now they are at least admitting that it is a blanketed term that is a mixture of up to 3,000 different chemicals, all of them different types of phthalates. So phthalates spelled with a PH. You know, babe, when we go over to someone's house, especially if they smoke and they like burn a candle or use those wall scents and things like that. And even after it's unplugged or done, the whole house still smells like that smell.
Yeah, I smell that at everyone's house.
Yeah, or even people who use perfumes.
Yeah.
Right? Or even shampoos and conditioners, that kind of stuff. So when it's clear that a non-natural smell is like sticking into the walls or into your skin, phthalates sink deeper into the chemicals all around. So it sinks deeper into your skin, it sinks deeper into the carpet and everything.
Yeah, it's in your detergent.
Your animal's fur too. So phthalates are what cause those cancer hormone disruptors, all of those things to be able to sit and stay so that you breathe them in long term. So the FDA has finally come out saying that fragrance doesn't mean that it's a specific. So like if it said jasmine fragrance, it could be up to 3,000 different types of harsh chemicals and synthetics creating that fragrance. And up to 72, it's been logged that up to 72% of all of the products tested all across the USA have an extreme amount of phthalates in them that are considered deadly to an adult, let alone an infant or an animal in your home. Mm-hmm. So that's a significant amount. And I get that you're like, oh, okay, well, 72% is pretty low, but not when you use a conditioner and a shampoo and a hair gel and a perfume and then makeup. And I mean, the list goes on. Yeah.
Your deodorant.
Yeah. Anything
your
and everything you could think of. Right. So if 72% of that is killing you every single day, and it's also not coming out of your skin or being filtered out of your body properly or out of your home properly, that's 72. Add on another 72%, like it compiles. Yeah. So anyway, that is a holistic take on actual facts on what the FDA is actually putting out now, because you guys are finally putting pressure. When I say you guys, I mean the majority of people is finally calling out the U.S. government and putting on pressure on what these different chemicals mean and that we need to understand the description of them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm going to hand it over to Jeremiah, who actually has a little positive nourishing news for you guys, which if you're following me on Instagram, you would have already seen this, but we just wanted to go a little bit more in depth with it here today. My love.
Savannah posted a little post about fluoride and how you're able to clean your water with fluoride.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is one of my favorite herbs just because of the name of it. Holy basil. It's basil that's holy. Not that it has holes in it. It's just, biblically, I'm kidding.
It's called holy basil just because it's same thing like chamomile. Chamomile means like mother herb. It's like the herb that takes care of all moms and babies. Holy basil literally is like the anti-inflammatory king.
Oh, I thought you were going to say anti-demonic.
No.
Like keeps all the demons away.
Maybe. Demons are probably inflammatory. But this, like, it helps with antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial. It's antispasmodic. Like, in anything that you could think of, holy basil is helpful. So that's why it's called holy basil, just because it's so amazing. But Jeremiah has another reason why it's so amazing.
So if you, help me understand this more, but if you put this in your water and you let it sit, it will actually filter out the fluoride from the water that you're drinking.
Yeah. There's a certain percentage of how much it can filter.
That's awesome.
You have to have a certain amount of fresh leaves to water ratio.
Okay.
Which I have 3 studies that kind of show variants of that.
Yeah. But that's in your post?
Mm-hmm, it varies between 95 and 97%. But I would say, if anything, like round down, probably closer to 90%.
Okay.
Also, depending on where you live, right? If you have higher percentages of fluoride, it's going to vary. So, but that's why reading the studies are really important. And then specifically with your body, we can't guarantee, because the way your body processes and breaks down food and chemicals is very different than like just it sitting in water. So we can't guarantee that it would filter out of your body fluoride. But I mean, your body is 70% water. So it doesn't, I'm sure it could help to some degree. Maybe it could help filter it out of your liver somewhat. But it is guaranteed before you consume it, it could up to 90 to 97% filter out fluoride out of your water. And
interesting.
And all of the studies recommended it steeping for at least 20 minutes. And they all gave different various scenarios and variants of the percentage of fluoride to water ratio and how many leaves you would need to,
interesting.
Yeah, a cup of water.
Okay.
So we can't guarantee it.
Gotcha.
But it is proven that it can happen.
Okay. And then why would we need this? Because like we have water filters and stuff. Like, does that filter out the fluoride completely, or is this like on top of your filters?
Well, so none of your water filters can filter out fluoride completely.
Oh.
But if you were in a place where it's higher concentrations of fluoride, which tends to be more blue states, I would then say, like, go get some fresh holy basil from your local Asian market. And if you know that someone doesn't filter their water properly at a house you're staying in, or even at a hotel, then you can definitely steep your tea in it. And what's cool is because it's fresh holy basil and it would be cold water or room temperature water, it wouldn't really change the flavor of your water very much. So it's kind of like a little survival guide tip, 1. But then 2, if you know that your filter's starting to go bad, you can also use this in substitute, or just do this all the time and use it along with your filter. So filter your water normally and then do this as a process. It's just, I know that takes time. So I know most people are not going to do that, but it's just a cool kind of like, uplifting thing to be able to know that you have this background and know that God really did create all things with a purpose. Like, at the beginning of time, God thought, I could make herbs and plants that are going to filter out harsh chemicals that are human made. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, an herb can do that.
Can I go down a little, what is it called?
Rabbit hole? All right, let's go. I'm scared.
Little theory here. So fluoride affects your pineal gland.
Yeah.
And in some cultures, they believe the pineal gland is called the holy organ part of your brain.
True. Yeah.
And it's like shaped as an acorn and stuff. So I'm wondering if they knew holy basil would fight off the thing that actually affects that one thing.
Well, I just find it really, that's funny that you say that, like holy basil affecting a holy organ. So I don't agree that it's like the holiest of all the organs. I think that's weird. Yeah, I do. I think it's weird. But I will say when your pineal gland is disrupted, advances Alzheimer's disease. It affects all of your hormones and organs. I almost combined those two words and said organs.
All encompassing organ.
Yeah. So it affects literally your digestive system and the way that your body can reproduce, and it affects every single aspect of you. So I think that's where that comes from. But ultimately, it is funny that those two are considered like, they literally, the herb is worshipped in some cultures, especially in Hindu cultures.
And that gland is worshipped.
Yes, in that same culture. So it is interesting, and they do actually work well together. Holy basil actually does a really good job at filtering. Iodine does a little bit better, but holy basil and iodine do really well at getting rid of heavy metals out of your bloodstream. If you have hypothyroidism, not hypothyroidism, which most Americans really struggle with, then taking excess amounts of iodine actually makes your body worse and affects your pineal gland in a bad way.
I remember we did research on that.
Yeah, because I have hypothyroidism. So yeah, it's not, that's why you don't just listen to these things and then go, oh yeah, you know what? I'm just going to start taking a ton of holy basil or start taking a ton of iodine. This is why you do
research.
Yeah, do research. You do gut testing, you do blood tests, and you see where your body's at and you see what you actually need. So that's my little caveat to this good, nice little segment of nourishing news. On to the next
one. Johnson & Johnson. You know, I've never really liked Johnson & Johnson.
No.
And
they also make a baby oil that Diddy really likes.
Oh, okay. Avoiding that rabbit hole. Let's jump over to Johnson & Johnson's Listerine lawsuit. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Have you ever taken those Listerine little things and you stuck it in your tongue?
I have taken them, yes. Yeah. They are minty and aggressive and delicious, and I loved them.
It kind of gave me a headache.
Well, maybe this is why. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So there is a Johnson & Johnson lawsuit only specifically, and this is how they get people in the FDA, by the way. Each brand, so like the Johnson & Johnson owns Listerine, okay? Listerine owns specific companies that are the different flavors of Listerine. So there's the Cool Mint, there's the Total Care, there's Spearmint. Those are all specific companies. So if somebody sues one, that's how it doesn't affect the other companies. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's really smart, but it sucks for the consumer because it means that all of those things are not going to be taken off the market. You have to sue all of them individually one by one and prove that each one specifically hurt you, which is so stupid. But anyway, so Johnson & Johnson is being sued for their mouthwash manufacture because there are extreme risks of cancer from using the Cool Mint Listerine, specifically Cool Mint. But I'm going to say that all of them probably have very similar properties because the chemicals that they're talking about, again, are under that fragrance that we talked about at the beginning. That's why we started with that. So because you can see all of these are kind of mixed in to being similar. So the previous study found that the company's Cool Mint flavor mouthwash increased levels of mouth bacteria linked to throat and colon cancer. When you have this specific bacteria, which is Phosphabacterium and Nucleatium, and Streptococcus aureus, those are the two bacteriums. When those are higher amounts near the mouth or the rectum, they actually travel through your entire digestive tract. So people who've been using this consistently developed over time throat cancer, thyroid cancer, stomach cancer and ulcers, small intestine and large intestine cancer, colon cancer, and what's the one for the men? Prostate cancer. Yeah. So that's how significant this is. Where is...
So you're better off using bourbon, is what I'm hearing.
You wish. Yeah, it says, according to the report at www.lawyerandsettlements.com, Listerine Total Care has been heavily marketed across the nation as a 6-in-1 total solution for oral hygiene, with representations that it fights, quote, this is what it says, fights unsightly plaque above the gum line. And that is the drug and Food Administration that has approved for its purpose. But the lawsuit claims that the sodium fluoride, the only active ingredient in Listerine Total Care, has not been recognized from the FDA to fight any plaque whatsoever, which can lead to gum disease and then lead to all of those bacterias.
Wow.
So Johnson & Johnson advertises the Total Care product as the FDA-approved drug that fights gum disease. In fact, the FDA has gone so far as to direct Johnson & Johnson to stop making these false statements. So the FDA is finally actually doing something on our side, but it's only because they got caught, per usual.
Yeah.
The lawsuit is entitled Britain versus Johnson & Johnson, and the case number is USDC case number C10-04450-TEH. If you guys want to look it up and follow along the lawsuit, and also find out all of the harsh chemicals that people put in your mouthwash, in your toothbrushes, and in your toothpaste. So it's a good way to actually find out what works for oral care, because they're getting holistic people and medical doctors to be able to come together to make a case to go against Johnson & Johnson. So it's going to be a really, really good case, and it's probably not going to be advertised anywhere. So if you want to follow along and you want to find out how to create a great microbiome starting in your mouth, which is where your microbiome starts, this is the case to follow. That's why I gave the case number specifically. I also wanted to give just kind of like a good overall that are great, healthy things to do for your oral health. Golden Seal is a great anti-inflammatory, and it's antibacterial, and it's a great aid for infections and bad breath, especially when you have like acute distress. If you apply a tooth mask at least once a week, you don't have to do it once a week, because I know not everyone's like obsessed with doing oral health deep cleanses. At least once a month, I would say. You should try an alkalizing enzyme and a mineral-filled plant paste. So those two things will allow your teeth to become polished. And if you leave it on for 2 to 5 minutes, and then you just lightly brush with warm water, and you should start using soft bristled toothbrushes. Yes, bamboo would be good, but ultimately, just make sure your bristles are soft, not super hard, especially if you use things like activated charcoal or baking soda, because those are already scraping off your enamel. So you want to use soft bristles. Chamomile, of course, which is a herb we use all the time in this household. If you swish this around in your mouth, it actually helps swollen gums and reduce plaque, and it protects your teeth and gums from infections and cavities. If you finish your teeth brushing also with oil pulling. So you just get a little bit on the spoon, and then you swish it around in your mouth for about 2 minutes. It prevents cavities, gingivitis, and it detoxes your mouth from specifically like candida and yeast. And then it also helps with hangovers, and it's a really great sleep aid before bed. I also wanted to mention these last 2 herbs, which is clove oil and yarrow. Clove oil is amazing to help fight any type of pain in your mouth, bad breath, and even sore throat or infections, and basically just for any disease naturally. Yarrow is also amazing for bleeding gums. So if you have a severe bacteria in your mouth and your gums bleed consistently, yarrow is amazing, and you just swish it around in your mouth with the clove and with the coconut oil at the end. It's a great way to infuse all. And, throw in the chamomile too to make it less painful.
Also, you could swish around some hydrogen peroxide. We do that on occasion.
Yeah. We do it like a couple times a month, because you don't want to kill all the bacteria in your mouth, because it kills the good and bad bacteria. So you want to make sure you're building it back in a healthy way. Okay, the last part of our Nourishing News episode is going to be the top 5 politicians who have received the most money from Big Pharma. This episode is going to be aired after the voting election, which, So because this is the last day that you can vote, and this will be aired tomorrow where people can't vote, I'm glad that I'm saying this, because I don't want it to sway anyone in any way, because we're not here to tell people who to vote for or what to do on that front at all. I will say, if you're a Christian, then you do have an obligation to vote for what is biblically closest and most accurate. But outside of that, I don't really care what you have to say or do. So Jeremiah is going to state some facts for you about the U.S. healthcare system, and then I'm going to read to you the top 5 highest paid politicians by big pharma and big food companies of all time.
The United States spends the most money on healthcare. They are the most medicated. They are the most chronically diseased. They have the shortest lifespan of all industrial nations in the world. It's wild.
Mm-hmm. And the top politicians who have received the most money from Big Pharma, I'll start at number 5. Number 5 is Mitt Romney for $3,356,837. Number 4 is Hillary Clinton, $4,598,860. Number 3 is Barack Obama, who he was also the president to allow pharmaceutical companies to be able to advertise on TV. That started in 2008. At $6,019,863. Number 2 is Kamala Harris at $6,162,614. Can you guess who number 1 is?
I'm just going to go with the trend is Biden.
You're correct.
Because he uses the most.
Yeah, well. Joe Biden has been paid $9,096,598.
Wow.
So our politicians are in bed with Big Pharma, big food, and big everything else. It also goes with big media as well.
Yeah.
They are currently being paid by all those things. And right now, JFK Jr. has made it clear that he wants to make that illegal in the United States, which would be amazing. It's a lot. Any politician can say whatever they want. It doesn't mean that they're actually going to follow through with it, right? So I just want to make that very clear. I don't have the list of the top 10, but it can come out. I believe all people in the top 10 from what's stated here is actually, they all are liberal, which I just find kind of silly. But either way, Jeremiah and I are neither Republican nor liberal. We claim ourselves to be Christian wholeheartedly, and we vote for whatever is the best option.
Biblically correct.
Yeah, the best option for us. So we just want to make it clear that we are here to support you guys through the stress that's also going to be coming through the next few weeks post-election. And I highly recommend you guys listen to our biblical stress episode and we have one on mental stress as well, like depression. There's herbs for depression and anxiety. So please listen to those 2 episodes if you need. And just know that we're here to support you and pray for you and love on you in any way, shape, or form. And remember, we do send out free Bibles to those of you that ask, and we've already done that before. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we'll get the Bibles to you. But either way, go vote for who you think would be best for our country. Either way, we're going to be praying for our leaders, whoever ends up being put into office, because God knows and God planned and ordained for that leader to be in office for a plan and for a purpose. We love you guys, and don't forget to keep casting seeds. We hope you enjoyed learning how to cultivate God's creation from a biblical perspective. Holistic health is to prioritize whole person wellness through Christ. Like and comment on what topics we're casting seeds or casting pearls.
If you found this information provided useful, subscribe to our podcast for future updates, leave a review to help us improve, and share this episode. We would like to remind you before we leave that perfect health cannot be attained in this world.
Only spiritual salvation through sanctification and repentance to God and turning away from sin will give you a perfect body in the kingdom come. Nourish yourself in the Word, in prayer, and in biblical fellowship daily.
Thank you for joining us today, and a special thank you to our listeners for making this podcast possible.
Always praying.
Keep casting seeds.